Story 1. My 43-year-old husband's affair partner, who is 19, is pregnant. She doesn't know who the baby's father is, and I don't know where to begin with fixing this. This is a throwaway account. All names are fake to protect mine and my children's identities. A few days ago, my husband of 19 years came to me telling me he wanted us to sit down and talk, as he needed to come clean that he has been having an affair for the past 6 months. He arranged with his mother to have the kids for the night, and she would get them to school in the morning so we could talk in private. He had arranged this on a day whilst I was at work. When I arrived home around 6:45 p.m., he was sat in the living room alone, waiting and looking very nervous, and quite frankly, I was immediately concerned for him and asking where the children were. He couldn't meet my gaze, reached out for my hands and sat down, and quietly announced he was sorry, and he never meant for this to happen, but he had cheated on me. I had no idea how to react. I was still concerned why no one else was home, as they all should have been home hours ago, normally getting back around 4 p.m., and no one had messaged me to ask or say they were out with friends. He started to ramble on, I think trying to explain himself as if there is any explanation for cheating. I wasn't paying attention, demanding he tell me where our children were. Eventually, he told me that his mother was looking after them for the night. He asked me to calm down and let him explain himself. I admit I snapped when he said this. How can he expect me to calm down when he's just admitted to breaking our vows? What is there to explain? If he wanted a divorce, he should have just asked for 1 month ago. He started to get upset, begging me to please calm down and let him talk. He said he didn't choose this, but there's more to the story. I was so full of emotions. I walked outside and sat in my car. He followed me to the door, crying and begging me to listen and please don't go. I sat in my car for I don't know how long, sobbing, thinking of our marriage, our children. What will happen now? Does this mean divorce? Couples counseling? Can I forgive him? And the biggest question, why? Why did he cheat? Who is she? Why is she better than me? Why is this woman more important than the life we have built together over the last 22 years? After maybe an hour of spiraling and crying, I was ready to hear him out and ask my questions. I knocked on the door. He opened it, reached for my hand, and we sat down again. He tried to lead me upstairs to our bedroom. I said absolutely not, we're talking this through downstairs now, or he can leave for tonight. I didn't know what to expect from what he wanted to tell me. I didn't care for the apologies and excuses. He told me the affair had started 6 months ago, but it had just been secret messaging, nothing flirtatious from his side to begin with. Then things escalated. She became more boldly flirtatious, and during a night I was working away, they slept together the first time. That was supposedly 4 months ago. He hasn't admitted so, but I believe they've been intimate regularly since. I asked why, how, who, so many questions. I didn't give him time to answer as I began to spiral again. He said it was Emily, a name that didn't mean anything to me. I half laughed and said, Am I supposed to know who that is? Then he said James. Emily? James is our 18-year-old son. Emily is his ex-girlfriend, as of 2 months ago. I was so angry in that moment, I shouted for him to get out. I didn't want him anywhere near me. I couldn't stand to look at him or listen to what he had to say next. How could he try and excuse not only having an affair, but with our son's ex, who he was still broken up about? She had broken up with him 2 months prior, which had him very upset as they'd had a sensible and very positive relationship for over a year. She was fully welcomed into our home, and I was quite fond of her. The whole family had been sad to hear they had broken up, his younger siblings saying how they missed her coming round. I apologize, I'm getting away from things. This is still so much to think about and hard to actually put down. My husband told me the reason he was coming clean to me now was that Emily had confided in him 2 weeks ago that she was pregnant, but was unsure as to who the father is. She said it could be him or James. He told me he hadn't planned or wanted any of this. He didn't initiate the relationship. He tried to not get close with her, but he wasn't strong enough mentally, and it just happened. Upon hearing that, I got up and left. I just couldn't stay there listening to him any longer. I drove 30 minutes away and checked into a hotel for the night, turning my phone off. I went into work the next day as normal, returning home to the kids once again and him waiting by the door, eyes red, begging me to talk to him. I didn't have the energy to talk or argue. I just walked up to our room, laid in our bed, as he begged me, crying again. I'm not delusional enough to believe anything he says regarding how it was all her initiating the flirting. She's only 19. He's more than twice her age, for God's sake. He didn't act in this alone, but to try and place all the blame on a teenager is quite frankly pathetic and makes me sick. It has been a few days since, and nothing has resolved. Things are back to normal for the sake of our children. James doesn't know about the affair or possible pregnancy. They're all back home, and I'm trying to make things appear as normal as possible, just until Christmas is out of the way. I don't want this affair mess to ruin what should be a joyful time of year. I've hardly spoken to my husband since, except for when the children are around. Having to share a bed with him disgusts me. He's tried to cuddle me and get me to kiss him in front of the children. I feel so much animosity to him. I fear my depression that I struggled with as a teenager will come back. I just want to cry everywhere. My heart is broken, not just for myself, but for our family. I know James needs to know, and sooner is better, but I don't know what can be there for us both right now. How do I even try to figure this out? When is the right time to tell James? I know it's so silly to think we could keep this a secret until Christmas is over, but I don't have any idea where to start. It just feels like the worst time for all of this. I don't know how I feel regarding everything. I know I'm nowhere near finding a solution or thinking of next steps. I'm mostly concerned for James and the fallout this will have between him and his father and our other 2 children. Relevant comments. Very competent says, Christmas is not a concern. Let that go. If you ever want to have another Christmas with James, you need to tell him everything immediately. Call an attorney. You will obviously need one, because you cannot stay married to this man and also have a relationship with your children. They will rightfully hate him, and if you ever act as an apologist for him, they will hate you too. Stop acting like things are normal and fine. Every day you keep this hidden from your son is another knife in his back. You need to stop trying to protect your husband and trying to pretend everything is okay. Insist your husband tell him, or you will. One of you needs to move out. I vote him, but if he won't leave, you should. After you speak with an attorney. Your husband is an irredeemable piece of waste. He has broken your heart and, worse than anything, betrayed his own son. There's no place for him in any of your lives. He made his choices. Let him live with the consequences. 4K Knife says, the husband must move out, otherwise she's abandoning the children. Pack his stuff, tell James, call his mom, and tell her he's her problem. Tell the husband he's not welcome in the family home he broke. Tell the kids he made bad decisions that hurt you and James, and that it was best for everyone that he move out. Sister Funkhouse says, and poor James doesn't need to be left with his piece of trash father who deeply betrayed him. That's not fair to him. Dad did the crime, so he should leave. Update. This is a small update of what's happened since I made my first post. I hope everyone can see this. If I haven't done this correctly, please let me know. A little summary of my last post. My husband of 19 years admitted to me that he has been having a 6-month affair with our eldest son's girlfriend. She was his girlfriend at the time the affair started. Now the update. After I made the post and read so many comments from amazing people, I seriously want to thank everyone who validated my feelings and helped me create a plan of action. That night, after my children were in their rooms, I sat down with my husband and told him that I didn't feel comfortable sharing a bed with him anymore, and that he needed to come clean to James about what he has done. I told him that I was going to contact a therapist for myself and for James, and some comments had suggested I would ask them if they think it is best for James to be told in their company for additional support. My husband didn't have anything to say. He just sat there taking it in. I think that was when he started to realize just how much he messed up. He told me he would be getting a hotel room for the night and staying with family or friends for the time being. I was able to speak to a therapist that Sunday, and after speaking with my sister about everything, I thought it was best to tell James as soon as possible, as I had now known for a week. My sister took my other 2 kids for the day. They were reluctant to be away again. They knew something was wrong. But I told them that once they came home, I would explain everything to them, and we will be okay one day, so don't start to worry, and I gave them both a huge hug. With me there, my husband spoke to James. He told him similar to what he had told me, but without the excuses and begging for forgiveness. James was quiet for a very long time, so my husband went to another room to give us some time alone. I don't want to go into how James was, as that's not for me to talk about, but he was obviously very hurt. We spent a long time talking and consoling each other. James then went for a lie down, and my husband left for a bit. That evening, when my sister dropped my younger 2 home, their father came back, and he explained to them about having an affair, and that it was with James' ex-girlfriend. We decided not to tell them about the possible pregnancy at this time, until paternity is determined and more is concluded about what I'm dealing with, the affair and possible pregnancy as 2 separate issues. James and I have both gotten STD tests, all negative so far, but awaiting the full results. Concerning the possible pregnancy, I am only focused on helping James through what my husband chooses to do about his own business. James has contacted Emily regarding a paternity test. He hasn't shared with me his feelings if the test comes back positive. We are taking things one step at a time. For myself, I am back in therapy. Fortunately, I've been able to take some time off work, and I'm focusing on getting through each day and supporting my kids. Once the results for paternity are back, then I can worry about divorcing my husband. I have been to a lawyer for an initial conversation, but I think it's best to deal with one thing at a time for the sake of my mental health. And my children absolutely come first. The only contact I've had with my husband since is him asking about the kids. I think that's everything I have to update on currently. I will update again when I have more to share. Thank you again everyone who commented on my first post. The only question I have now is any advice for divorcing with children involved? I want it to be as easy on them as it can be, so we can move on from this mess. Relevant comments. User, Biba Martin. I've been thinking about you since your last post. This is just so sad, but the saddest part for me, and there are so many sad parts, is that James' relationship with his dad will forever be damaged. Your husband has destroyed your family, and I hope he's beginning to realize the extent of what he has done. However, your kids are lucky to have you as their mom, as you sound like you're willing to do what it takes to help them through this. User, Truthy Beast. I cannot begin to fathom the level of betrayal this is. How sick. The husband was sleeping with his son's long-term girlfriend behind his back. Unprotected sex which leads to a child. Imagine the paternity test lab. It could be the father or the son. Their DNA is similar, but not exact. It is so disturbing and disgusting. The fact that there is a child inside the 19-year-old's belly, and if she chooses to keep the child, they will have to carry such awful shame. The mother holding it all together after this, it is beyond. And with that, We've reached the end of the first story. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Now, let's move on to the second story. My 24-year-old boyfriend says he doesn't want to be with someone as ambitious as me. I've wanted to be a veterinarian since I was a young girl. As I got older, I gave up on those dreams, but when I turned 23, I decided to give it a go. I went back to school and have since achieved an associate's degree with a 4.0 GPA, and I have plans to transfer to a university, then go to vet school. Long story short, my dreams don't seem so unattainable anymore. The problem lies with my relationship. With the way things are going, I won't be done with school until I'm around 30 or 31. I've always wanted to get married and have kids before that age, but since I decided to go back to school, I've reconsidered when would be a good age to have kids. My boyfriend wants to get married and start having kids this year. Although I would love to start a family, I'm so torn. Me starting a family with him would require me moving states back to my hometown and taking time off from school. Not only that, but my boyfriend told me he wants to be with a woman who wants to be a stay-at-home wife. This is a text that he sent me. I do not desire to be with a woman who is as ambitious as yourself. It's great for you that you have goals, but I want a big family and a traditional relationship. If I don't decide to change my plans, he and I are going to move on. I also want a big family, and I have no problem with prioritizing my future family when the time comes. However, I just can't reconcile with the fact that he's asking me to give up dreams I've had since I was a little girl. I love him so much, and I can't imagine my life without him, and so I have been questioning if I'm making the right choice by staying on this path to becoming a veterinarian. I know it sounds stupid since I'm only 25, but I've been feeling like if I don't do this now, I might not find someone to marry and start a family with. This conversation with my boyfriend is making me question if men just don't want to marry a woman who puts her career first for a while. Maybe I shouldn't think like that, but it's hard not to. On the other hand, I feel like my boyfriend is asking me to give up my dreams so that he can live out his own. So I guess I just need advice. What are your thoughts on changing my plans to pursue my dreams in order to make my boyfriend happy? Is it worth it? Would I be making a mistake if I let this relationship with someone that I love go? Too long, didn't read. I want to be a veterinarian. My boyfriend wants me to be a stay-at-home mom in the future. I can't stop questioning if I'm making the right decision. Top comment. User, ShareCon32. Do not settle for a stay-at-home mom life for this dude. Pursue your dreams, get your education, and build a stable financial foundation for yourself and your future family. Is your boyfriend extremely financially successful and responsible? I highly doubt it. It sounds like he's jealous of your potential and wants to keep you from surpassing him in earning potential and career status. If he won't support your dream, he is not the man for you. Reply. User, Poodle Pop. I dated a guy like this while I was in the process of taking the LSAT and applying for law school. He was in IE sales and told me that my ambitions made him feel bad about himself. Naturally, we split up, and I'm now an attorney living in my dream city with a husband who not only supports and encourages my goals, but cheers when I reach those milestones. Moral of the story: don't shrink yourself or your dreams for anyone when there are people who will happily stand in your corner. Reply. User, ShareCon32. Congratulations on your accomplishments. That's exactly what I think the original poster needs to read and think about as well. Update. Thanks for the replies. I read every single one, and the general consensus is that I should not give up my goal of being a vet. A part of me knows that, but I was second-guessing whether I was making the right decision. I really love him, and I have been with him since I was a teenager. If I'm being honest, I left out some information in order to try to keep the responses as non-biased as possible. I'll now be referring to my boyfriend as my ex. Okay, so here is some important information and answers to some comments that I saw. My ex has known for years about my dreams to become a vet, and has only just recently sprung this on me that he doesn't want to be with me if I go through with it. It started with him talking about the cost of vet school. He then gave me an ultimatum that if I go to vet school, then he's going to break up with me. When I told him that I'm not giving up on that goal, he kind of went back on his ultimatum. But then, a week later, he brought it up again, hence my post. So yes, he did ask me to give up being a vet. He told me that I wasn't acting like a lady, that as a woman my purpose is to be a mom and a wife, and that I have no idea how the world works. Another comment asked why I would have to move back to my hometown. I moved out of my hometown and have been in a long-distance relationship ever since. My ex used to tell me that his plan was to move to the new city I live in now, but he randomly decided against that. He was not willing to budge, and told me many times that I would have to move back in order for us to be together. This was another point of contention for us. Many people were wondering if he had the resources to take care of a stay-at-home mom and a big family. Short answer, maybe for a while. He hasn't had a stable job for months, but he has a good amount of money and assets. It would be okay for the short term, but definitely would not provide the life that he or I have expressed that we would want. I left all of this information out because I wanted to hear people's advice at face value, but I recognize that all of this is pretty important information. I'm not sure if I'm missing any other important questions, so I'm open to answering more if needed, but I think at this point the case is pretty cut and dry. He and I are broken up. I've come to the conclusion that even if I did everything he wanted me to, he would still find something to put me down and end up leaving me anyway. Sucks, but I guess I'll just focus on becoming a vet, and the whole family thing will hopefully come when it's meant to. Thank you guys again for your comments. I received such great advice, and I appreciate what everyone said so much. Relevant comments. User deleted said, best update was the first part. He will be referred to as the ex. It's hard, but you did the right thing for yourself. User FuzzyPipe39 said, seriously, it's like Christmas every time I read about original posters writing that sentence for horrible former partners. I'm so happy for the original poster, and I wish her the best, in school, in her career, in love, and in the future. User SaltyThing3144 added, he is beyond horrible. And that wraps up this story. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. Now, let's move on to the next story. My brother, who is 35 years old, is engaged to a widowed woman in her early 30s. But her supposedly dead husband is actually not dead. This is so ridiculous. I don't even know where to start. For as long as I can remember, my brother has been the golden boy, and I have been the screw-up. I was obviously an accident. I had some difficulties in school, and by the time I came around, my parents were peaking in their careers and were too busy for me, and he was too old to hang out with me. About 2 years ago, the golden boy introduced us to his girlfriend, Sarah, not her real name. She's beautiful, tall, and tragic. Exactly my brother's type. Sarah said she was previously married, but her husband suddenly died from a rare heart condition. Basically, he dropped dead at around 28 or 29. In the aftermath, she left her home state, cut contact with her family and old friends. My brother says they were harmful during her grief journey, moved across the country, and reinvented herself. This was like 4 years ago. Immediately, I did not like her. She seemed fake. It was just a gut feeling I couldn't really explain. But it didn't matter. My parents loved Sarah. The moment they met her, they started including her in family vacations, birthday dinners, and within a few months my mom was saying things like, I think she's the one for your brother. Sarah has no social media. She has a super unusual last name, and over the past 2 years I've Googled her from time to time. Some recent stuff comes up, like things related to her job, but nothing from before her move, and nothing related to her husband. Nothing comes up at all. And she's cagey and weird about him. If you ask anything about what he was like or even his name, she gets teary, and then my brother jumps in. They got engaged a few months ago, so every conversation right now is about wedding planning. Sarah has very few friends, none from her past life, so I'm in the bridal party along with some of their mutual friends. We went bridesmaid dress shopping a few weeks ago, and I went to Venmo her the payment for my dress. And then I was like, I wonder how far back this goes. Pretty far. Mostly payments between her and my brother, and to the hairstylist and nail artist. But I saw one Venmo payment from a guy that looked like it was for living expenses. So I Googled him, and I found his Instagram. And on his Instagram, I found a wedding photo from 2017. And in that wedding photo, he was the groom, and Sarah was the bride. And that dude is still alive. Like, very alive. He posted 3 days ago. He's remarried, with kids. I found her siblings, her old maiden name, and her whole old life once I found her ex's account. So I don't know what to do. Part of me is like, maybe the relationship ended badly, and that's why she goes around saying he's dead? Part of me is like, maybe she's in witness protection, though she's screwed if she is, because I eventually found her. And part of me is like, do I need to tell my brother? Do I tell her? Do I pull her aside and say, hey, what's going on? I screenshotted everything so I have proof. I just don't know if I should sit on it, or tell someone. Top comments. Thank Judas says, if it were me, this would be coming from an anonymous email or something. I do think your brother should know, but it doesn't sound like the two of you are close enough for him to just believe you. Plus, do you really want to be caught up in this potential mess? It could be something, or it could be nothing, but it'll probably be a bit messy. Ida Moonpie, the original poster, replies, low-key, I want credit for figuring out that she was lying, not gonna lie. But yeah, it would definitely be messy. Twisted Memories adds, the problem is that with your family dynamics, nobody is going to thank you for figuring this out. In fact, you very well may be blamed for it, which is obviously ridiculous, but it's what could happen. Update. I felt really affirmed by a lot of the comments saying 2 things. First, that I shouldn't involve my parents at all. And second, that she might have a tragic reason for changing everything in her life, or being a victim, so I shouldn't approach this like I'm happy to stir the pot. I ended up texting Goldie to ask if I could call him on Tuesday night. When I called, the situation freaked me out at first because they were cooking, so he put me on speaker. I thought, forget it, and I just told him everything about the Venmo payments, the Instagram, and everything else. I framed it like, I know this looks bad and I don't care, but I wanted to say something in case Goldie didn't know, or in case you both didn't want other people to find this. Goldie reacted by saying, you're an idiot, of course I know, because their marriage certificate shows that she had been married before. For a moment, I thought we were going to get into a fight. But honestly, Sarah kind of diffused it, and the 3 of us ended up talking for a few hours about Sarah's background, why she lied, and about Goldie's parents and our relationship. I won't go into everything we talked about, but basically, Sarah grew up religious. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to disparage people in this religion, but she said that it's closer to a cult than a real faith. I don't know enough about it to comment. Around 5 to 6 years ago, she started having doubts and eventually left. Unfortunately, in this religion, if you leave, everyone is supposed to avoid you. So her family and friends stopped talking to her, and her relationship with her husband got really tense. She said he was the only person who could talk to her, but the love was gone. She felt like the church was trying to force her back into joining, and that made her think, "Forget it, I'm done." She said that if everyone was going to act like she was dead, she might as well start a new life. So she moved away, started dating, divorced her husband, and picked a new last name. At first, she told new people her real background, but knowing about her old faith made people judge her and ask a lot of questions she wasn't comfortable with. So eventually, she started telling people she was a widow because it was easier and made her feel safer. When she first met my brother, that's what she told him. She told him the truth a few months into dating. Goldie says they decided together to keep her background from my family, which honestly makes sense considering the type of people my parents are. Ultimately, I'm glad I told them. For the first time ever, I actually feel like I'm part of something with my brother. It's weird, but also kind of nice. One conversation won't undo the past 24 years of our relationship, but I do feel bad for underestimating him and writing her off. It's not his fault that he's older than me, and that our parents kind of suck. We actually had a nice Christmas together, and I could tell they were both trying to engage with me more than usual. Maybe because they have some respect for me, maybe because they're scared, I don't know. But either way, I feel a little seen by them, and I feel like I see them more clearly now. Thanks again. And make sure your Venmos are set to private. Top comments. Lilac Skies 78 says, "So happy to hear this. Also, the fact that you notice she is putting up a front and is fake is because she may be trying to hide this side to her. So probably with time you both could have a good relationship too. Now Goldie has someone to talk to and will not feel as isolated." Just a note to say says, "I'm wondering how isolated she was and how much of her being fake is not quite knowing social mores." Terrafractal says, "The older I get, the more I realize that most fake people are just socially awkward." Logical Peach 305 says, "I think you're onto something. Being raised in a denomination that encourages shutting out anyone who's other leads to limited social skills for sure." And with that, we've reached the end of today's stories. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Let me know in the comments what you think about these situations, which stories shocked you the most, and what you would have done in their place. If you enjoy real Reddit stories like these, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. I'll see you in the next video.